the look. Trying to stick with the look.
Don't give that
Well,
up.
we are live.
Yes.
I always appreciate having you. I've always told you that you've been one of those people that has affected my workable point of view, which and I appreciate you for it. And just so the audience will know, we're joined with Professor Richard Wolff. Professor Richard Wolff is professor of economic emeritus at the University of Massachusetts Amherst and visiting professor in the graduate program of international affairs of the New School University in New York City. He's founder of Democracy at Work and hosts their nationally syndicated show, Economic Update. By the way, that's a fantastic show. His latest book, or I would say one of his books, because I think you have a more recent book, is The System is the Sickness When Capitalism Fails to Save Us from Pandemics or Itself. And it's available with his other books like Understanding Socialism and Understanding Marxism at democracyatwork.info. Professor, the economic news has just come out. So I feel fortunate to have you on today to get your take on what has been taking place. Inflation apparently year over year has gone up 4.2%. The stock market dropped like nearly 1,000 points yesterday. And a war that the president has said 38 times and counting is over with, or is nearly over with, has just gone into full scale conflict, meaning the strait is closed, it's not opening. Give me your take. What is happening right now? And I know that's a big question, but what should we in this country expect to take place? You can go with in a domestic sense or in a international sense, however you want to start this conversation.
Let me try to look at it from the outside and then get focused in more and more on the domestic. But let's start with the global picture. And let me begin by asking your audience, Jamal, asking your audience to understand that I am just a messenger. I didn't make this happen that I'm about to describe, but I am telling it to you. And I'm sure your audience understands the way some of my other audiences don't. That if you want the happy good news, then turn on the TV and they'll give you the happy good news. But it's mostly BS these days, sadly, and I'll explain that in a minute. But here's the story. The United States operated for the last about 65, 70 years an empire, a global empire. The US dollar was the currency used everywhere in the world. No other currency played that role. United States Navy protected shipping and made sure that the United States got what it wanted out of any other country in the world. The military did the same in their way. Banking was concentrated by the monster banks in New York City, and on and on and on. Okay? And so we lived, people like you and me, who most of whose lives were over the last 60 to 70 years, right? We lived in a time when the American empire was dominant and it was growing. Here comes the hard part. That part of American history is over. It's not coming back. It's done. And you have to sooner or later face it in the same way that you have to face facts like you're getting older, or as you age, your body tends to have problems showing up in it, etc., etc. You know, it's sad to understand how people can be upset by it. You can understand that they don't want to face it. Those are very human qualities, but they don't change the fact of the matter. So you got to blend your sadness, your denial, with a certain amount of realism. We don't have that in the United States, at least not now. Our political leaders, and I'm afraid I have to say, not just Trump, but likewise Biden, likewise Kamala Harris, they're all cheerleaders. They're out there saying it's great, it's going to get better, it's great. I understand that. Cheerleaders, you don't want them, the cheerleader, to stand up and say, hey, we got a real problem over here. This position isn't what you don't, that's not what a cheerleader is for. But a political leader isn't a cheerleader. A political leader of any kind is supposed to blend representing people with being honest about what the problems are and what the choices are. We don't have that. We have fakers, liars, showmen, showwomen. It maybe it makes people comfortable, but it's a comfort that comes from a refusal to face the reality. The American empire is over. We are in decline, and the economy is being pulled down by the fact that our empire is gone. Nothing illustrates the departure of our empire more than what you just pointed to, Jamal. Here we are, the United States, one of the richest countries on earth, with the biggest military on earth, allied with little Israel, which has become, like a little mini army, right? So the United States and Israel are attacking what? Iran. Iran is a country of 92 million people. Israel and the United States together are 350 million people. United States and Israel are rich. Iran is poor. But here comes the punchline. Iran is winning. We're losing. And Americans shouldn't be all, messed up in the head about this. We lost in Vietnam. We lost in Iraq. We lost in Afghanistan. We are what President Trump likes to use as a swear word. Losers. Okay, one of the things a smart loser does is quit while you're ahead. If you're knowing that you're starting to lose your edge, maybe you're tired, maybe you have a stomach ache, who knows? But you got to face it. If you don't face it, the losses get bigger. Okay, the loss in Vietnam, we made believe it didn't happen. And by the way, for those of you who think that there's an issue here, there isn't. Our enemy back in the 1970s, our US's enemy in Vietnam was the Communist Party of North Vietnam.
Right.
Okay? Who's in charge of Vietnam today? Answer. The Communist Party of North Vietnam. That's a big clue about who won and who lost. We're not there anymore. They are. We don't run anything in Vietnam. They do. Conclusion, they won, we lost. In Afghanistan, our enemy was something called the Taliban. Who's in charge of Afghanistan today? The Taliban. They won, we lost. Yeah, there are 100 reasons why we lost. There always are 100 reasons why the loser loses, and there really are. But that doesn't change the fact that we lost. We lost. And we're about to lose in Iran. The Iranian people, let's just go back because it's such a summary. Back in 1953, that's 75 years ago, roughly. In 1973, the people of Iran rose up and had a peaceful revolution. They voted out the old government and they voted in a new one. And the leader of that was a man named Mossadegh. And he ran on a platform that said, we have been blessed by Allah that beneath the soil of our country is huge quantities of oil, which was true. Everybody knew that. But it has been taken over by British and American and French oil companies who control it. They bring the oil up out of the ground. They refine it, they sell it, they make all the money. This is terrible. It should be for the benefit of the Iranian people. So I'm going to run, if I win the election, which he did, I will nationalize, I will take over the oil which belongs to the people of Iran and which must now serve the people of Iran. The oil companies didn't want this. It was the time of the American Empire, 1953. So the CIA of America, together with MI6, that's the equivalent in Britain of the CIA here, the secret, the spooks, the people who are, do the covert action. They have very polite terms for what they do. What they do,
Right.
what they do is awful, dirty business. But put that aside. They overthrew him. They brought back the previous government that the people had risen up against. The family of the Shah, the name of the family Pahlavi. They installed the son of the original Pahlavi as the new Shah, the new leader, dictator of this country. And from 1953 until 1979, that dictator ruled Iran with an iron hand. But he gave the entire oil business to the United States, Britain, and France. In other words, he was a good colonial puppet. In 1979, the religious leaders of Islam in Iran, the Ayatollahs and the mullahs, they made a revolution against the Shah. They forced the Shah to leave the country, and he took up exile where? The United States, where a rich, I believe where you are, in Virginia somewhere, he was given some palatial place to be in exile. And the religious leaders, the Ayatollah, took over. The day they took over, the United States once again went after them, tried to unseat them, funded the people who didn't like them, which were plenty. Because remember, they were a religious, and so a large part of Iran was then and is now secular. And there's an enormous tension inside Iran between the religious community and the non-religious community. And the Americans funded the non-religious to undo the religious, culminating in the war that Israel and the United States waged, so-called 12-day war 1 year ago, June of 2025.
Yes.
Well, so the reason I recount this history, Jamal, is simply that the United States has been antagonistic towards these people in this country literally since at least 1953. Most of the people watching or listening to this program, that's their whole life is between 1953 and now, more or less.
Wasn't even born.
So what these people, and this is so important, what these people began to realize is they are never going to be, as long as they are either nationalistic for themselves or Islamicists, strong on the religion for them, or some combination of those, the United States is going to be undoing them. And what the United States won't do against them, Israel will. And Israel for them is just, the United States with another name on it.
Yes.
All right. So they made the decision starting 20 years ago to ask themselves, how in the world can a small country, 92 million people is not small, but relative to the United States, it's small, right? How can a small country, much poorer than the United States or Israel, much less industrially developed, much smaller, lesser military, how in the world are we going to ever protect ourselves? Otherwise, the United States and Israel today, tomorrow, next week, next month, will do it again. It's not that we don't know what they're after. Israel says one of the most important things for its foreign policy is to get rid of Iran. A whole bunches of American leaders, Lindsey Graham, Now, he's kooky, I know, but he's a senator and he leads the charge. We got to defeat the. So nobody's protecting them, nobody's defending them in the West. So they've asked themselves the question, what can we do? And they came up with an answer. We have the following. We have friends. We didn't have them in 1953. There was no People's Republic of China at that time that could help them. There was a People's Republic of China, but it had just come out of its own revolution, 1949, 4 years earlier, and they were desperately trying to rebuild their own economy. They couldn't help Iran, so that was out. There was the Soviet Union, but 1953 is only 8 years after the end of World War II. And for those
Right.
who don't know, World War II killed more Russians than any other nationality because the war was fought there and the Nazis they destroyed everybody. 25 million dead people in Russia as a result of that war. So they couldn't get much. So they were on their own and they suffered. They understood now they have a new situation. They share a common ocean with Russia. It's called the Caspian Sea, located up there. Big body of water. So they can move. Russia can sell and ship to Iran any number of missiles, any number of drones, any number of guns and bullets and bombs, and you name it. China has thousands of miles of border with Russia that nobody can touch. And China, just because people don't know this in America, China today has a larger manufacturing base than the manufacturing base of the United States, Britain, France, and Germany combined. China has arisen in the world in a way nobody back in 1953 could have dreamed of. So now they have real allies. And they can get what? They can get the missiles with which they have been hitting Israel, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and so on. Oh my goodness, they have missiles. You bet, lots and lots of them. And they also have drones, lots and lots of them. You're not, here we go now, you're not going to defeat them because they can fight back, and they are doing it, and they are doing it well. That's why the other day an Apache helicopter got shot down. That hasn't happened for a long time. The United
Yep.
States is still trying to figure out what to do. Number two, they realized that they have a card to play called the Strait of Hormuz. What is that? That's a place where ships have to, very narrow area, where ships from the Middle East go to Asia and all over the world, carrying mostly oil from the Middle East, or in some cases, the products made out of oil. Those products include the gasoline you put in your car, but they also include jet fuel, the only way that an airplane can run. They include fertilizer. Much of the world's food is grown on land, fertilized with a product of petroleum. I could go on, but this is a very important part of the world, and it has to be able to get the oil or the oil products out of that part of the world to the rest. All right. Iran says we're not going to permit anybody to go by anymore. That's our only way to defend ourselves. We're going to defend ourselves by saying to both the United States and the rest of the world, we are not going to permit shipping to go through here because that will put a lot of pressure on the United States. Why? Because before the United States and Israel attacked Iran on the 28th of February of this year. Before that, the Strait of Hormuz had always been open and always been free. The Iranians cannot be accused of wanting to snatch the Strait of Hormuz because they never did it. It's Iran hasn't moved and the strait hasn't moved. They were in a position to do it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. No, they never did it. They did it only because, and by the way, they said it before the war started. They said, if the United States and Israel do this, one of the ways we will respond is by closing the strait. And the other way we will respond is by sending missiles. And we will focus the missiles initially only on whoever attacks us. So far, the Iranians have sent missiles either to the American military bases that exist in all those countries or into Israel. Why? Because Israel and those military bases are where the guns and the planes come from that attack Iran. So they have kept to their word, done what they've said, and responded each time they got attacked. All right. This is never explained to the American people. They, over the last 3 months, as you rightly pointed out, Mr. Trump has decided it is very clever to claim that he is negotiating with them and they with him. And number two, as you put it, we're getting close to a settlement. They were never getting close and they were never negotiating. Over the last 3 months, at no time are we aware of at this point of a sit-down negotiation between representatives of the United States and Israel on one side and representatives of Iran on the other. That would be a negotiation. We haven't had that yet. And we haven't had it yet because the United States, and here we go back to the big picture, Jabono. The United States leadership are cheerleaders. They can only go, it's great. They cannot go, we blew it. We made a mistake. We didn't understand how powerful they are. We didn't put together what China and Russia could do for them and has done for them. They have Iran is very mountainous. It's a very mountainous country with large areas that are very few people, but lots of rough mountains. It is childishly easy to do two things which modern warfare require. Number one, you can stick a missile silo. Basically, think of it as a tube that goes down into the ground, and you put the missile inside the tube, but you can hit a button in Tehran, 1,000 miles away, and off goes the missile to wherever it is you've programmed it to go. Right. Hiding these missiles in these little silos in the mountains is easy. To make matters worse, it turns out that spy satellites, which is what the United States uses to see what the Iranians are doing, we do that in every country. They can't tell the difference between a real silo with a missile in it and something that looks like a silo, looks like it's got a covering on it the way silos do, but is what we in America would call a decoy. It's not a real duck. It's a duck made out of a piece of wood. And so you and I are paying huge amounts of money to send $1 million missiles to knock out an awful lot of ducks made out of wood. And that's why the Iranians can keep shooting the missiles. They did 2 days ago into Israel again. That's not going to stop. The Iranians have said, you can bomb us till you're blue in the face. We know we have to bring your position in the Middle East to an end. It has to stop. But we're not going to be ever safe unless we get you out of here. And that means your bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and United Arab Emirates and so on, and Israel. We are not going to. So, you want to bomb us? Come ahead. You want to send missiles? Be my guest. We will do the same. And nobody will get through the Strait of Hormuz. By the way, there the government is lying again. Yesterday our Navy escort. No, it didn't. But it sounds good because this is a game, Jamal. My fellow Americans, please understand. This is now a waiting game. We on this side, we just finished. On this side, we are waiting and hoping that the people of Iran will get terribly upset by all the bombs and missiles hurting them, killing their kids, and all the horror of a war. And here's what they're waiting, because they can't do that to us. They're waiting for the American people to say, we are spending a fortune to kill all those people in Iran. Meanwhile, we can't make a living here because the price of groceries and the price of what we put in the car is going out of control, which it is. So the Iranians are waiting for Americans to say, stop this craziness. And the Americans are waiting for the Iranians. And I got to tell you, knowing the history of Iran and being an American myself, born, raised, lived here all my life, my money is on Iran. They're going to win this one. And I think many leaders in America, many, know that. They won't say it, but they know it. And so what you're getting is Mr. Trump under more and more pressure to do something. Yesterday, he was told that the inflation rate currently 4.2% over the last year. So he didn't know what to do. I mean, Mr. Trump is, I'll be as nice as I can, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, right? So his answer to the reporter about 4.2, I quote you now, I love inflation. That's what he said. It's all over the news. All right? That's dumber than cement. What are you doing? Wow. But it shows you he can't handle. There is no answer.
Yeah.
So what does he come up with? Silly stuff, whatever occurs to the man. And he's kind of out of it. He's sleeping a lot. He missed the Knicks game. It didn't work out for him. When he went, everybody booed him. It's not a good time to be Donald Trump. Even in MAGA land, they're having doubts about him. So I think the money now around the world is on the Iranians. And let me tell you that if that's true, if they're the ones who walk away from this having won something, the damage to the American economy, which is already declining, will be huge. Every small country in the world, Jamal, every country of Latin America, every country of Asia, Africa, have had their problems with the United States. Now they can imagine winning. They haven't been able to imagine that for 75 years. And that's a new, exciting option. When you put that together with the fact that they can turn to China to buy and sell almost everything, well, what do they need the United States for? Here's the joke. The United States says we're isolating the bad guys. No, you're not. You know what you're doing? You're isolating yourself.
One last question, and this could be a relatively quick one, I think. Is BRICS missing its moment? Now, let me explain what I mean by that. There are a lot of people who are BRICS triumphalists.
Yes.
I want BRICS to do well in the world, also considering what they represent. Um, but if you think about it, Brazil is under sanctions pressure by the United States,
Yes.
where they implemented, I think it's like 25% tariffs, it's not more at this point. Um, China, I'm sorry, Russia is fighting a war in a literal sense.
Right.
Iran is fighting a war in a literal sense. The US is the culprit in all of these instances of these countries fighting wars. India was being slapped directly by the US because the US was mad at Russia and couldn't do anything to Russia, so they went after India. China, seemingly, is the only country that the US is not directly going after. It tried to, didn't work well, in which case it kind of backed away in order to try to figure out how else it was going to deal with this bear. BRICS has not come together in solidarity and said, we are putting a tax on America for what it is doing against many of the other countries, effectively trying to strangle BRICS in the crib before it ever becomes a thing. Is BRICS mixing its moment to deal with the US problem directly? Or give me your take on that. I'm just going to answer flat because a lot of people in the audience would have that take, and I'm curious on your take on it.
I don't think BRICS is missing its moment. I think BRICS is constrained by the moment in which it finds itself. And let me tell you what I mean. I think all of them would agree with everything you just said, that the United States is the problem and all of that. And that China is, for all of them, the economic backstop.
Yes.
Many of them, they joined BRICS because they had become so dependent on China, and they could see the future of dealing with China. Let's remember, China is 4 times the size of the United States. And now that its economy is exploding, by the end of this decade, that is the 2020s, so by the end of this decade, China will be, by all measures, a larger economy than the United States. So what you're seeing is the world realizing everything has changed. Our bread is buttered on a different side, and we're going that way. That's going on. BRICS is the way to do it. And so I think BRICS is a very important ally of China and a very important losing situation for the United States. It's been that way for 10 years. It will continue. Now, however, my last point, you have to keep in mind that BRICS is an alliance of convenience. It is convenient for each of the countries, Iran, Cuba, Algeria, Indonesia, all the countries that are in BRICS, to do that, to join BRICS, to reorient towards China in various ways. But they are very different countries, different politics, different culture. Let me give you an example. On one end is a serious socialist, Lula in Brazil. So Brazil comes into this as a socialist country, a socialist government. Mr. Modi in India, whatever you think of him, they're no socialist, is the enemy of socialists at home. And if I take you through Cuba has got a socialist government, but Indonesia does not. So they don't agree on a lot of things, and they don't trust each other all that well. They're working together. They understand their differences. They understand why they are together. They've held together very well. The only country so far that has been in the BRICS and then withdrawn is Argentina. And the reason for that is they have a Donald Trump clone as their leader. By the way, he makes Donald look sane.
Yes.
That takes a lot of work.
Yes.
If you listen to him, which I have done, you read his speeches, which I have done, you're talking about a genuine crazy. But okay.
Malay is nuts. Malay is nuts. Yeah, he's nuts.
But Argentina was in the BRICS, and then Malay to make a great show of how important he is, took him out. Here's my guess: Mr. Malay is going to have a hard time in the years ahead. He
Yes.
will disappear. He will be replaced probably by someone from the left down there, and they will go right back in to the BRICS as fast as he took them out. But other than that, nobody has done that. And so I think the BRICS are doing as well as the situation allows them to do at this point. They are, think of them this way, they are the front line of the reorientation of the world away from looking at the United States as the overwhelming dominant power and looking instead either to China or to a China led collection of countries that's more, it's smarter for them to hook up to that than to stay with the United States. I think in the end, all countries will do it and we will be left alone. And I mean alone, because by now we've alienated the nice Canadian people to our north and the nice Mexican people to our south by having a leader who behaves the way Mr. Trump does.
Yeah,
And so we will be alone. We will, and all of us, you and me, obviously in very different ways, but you and me have hooked our lives into this country because in my case, my parents did that, right? My parents made a decision to stay in the United. They were refugees from Europe. They decided to stay in the United States. I got born in the United States, so I've been here all my life. I'm connected to the United States, and it has dawned on me in the last 2 or 3 years that I have hooked my life to a ship that is sinking.
Professor Richard Wolff, always a pleasure.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
I hope people appreciate that I'm telling it to you like I think it is. Once again, if you can't handle it, turn on the radio and TV. It'll be like warm milk. It'll take care of you.
Professor Wolff, thank you for this. Professor Wolff, he's professor of economics emeritus, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and a visiting professor at the graduate program of international affairs at the New School University in New York City. He is author of several books, When Capitalism Fails to Save Us from Pandemics or Itself. And it's also available with his other books, Understanding Socialism and Understanding Marxism, at democracyatwork.info. Professor, is there anywhere else that people can find you, or is there anything else that you want to plug?
Democracyatwork.info is our website, and we also maintain Democracy at Work Substack. So you can find us at either the website or Substack. We produce videos and books and all kinds of stuff. If you're interested, please visit. Costs you nothing to go and see what there is.
You're awesome. I thank you for this. You be safe.